Your Excellency, last September we opened our Day of America in Belgrade with a video of the famous Martin Luther King speech, "I Have a Dream." It was the 60th anniversary of this event. In your opinion, what is the American dream today, 61 years after Martin Luther King's speech?
You know, in a real sense, it's still Martin Luther King's dream.
I remember you liked this moment at the conference.
It's an extremely important thought, and it is basically the concept that the arc of history is long, as the intervening years would suggest, but it does indeed bend toward justice. And it's kind of an optimistic statement, but it's also asking not only for optimism, but for hard work and for an understanding that good things take time to happen. So I think it's very much, our country very much is in that mode. Boy, we have our problems, you have your problems, everyone has their problems right now. But I think we can solve them better if we're together.
Do you think that this agreement with Mr. Assange is part of this, is making better picture of America as still land of the free and home of the brave?
I don't know. I'll let you answer your own question.
Yeah,
there, but
I commented like this.
Yeah, he was involved in some very serious matters that affect not only American national security, but the security of individuals whose names came out in the whole WikiLeaks project. So I will leave that up to you to answer.
Okay. When I was a student in the 80s, I subscribed to magazine Pregled, published by the US Embassy in Belgrade. Do you think American soft power is still present and innovative enough in this part of the world today?
Well, I think soft power is really about doing a lot of listening and understanding what is going on and trying to be helpful and not to be angry or resentful, but rather to lend a helping hand. And I think we try to do that in this region. I can't say we do it through a magazine called Pregled, but I think we do it through other means. And I think we have, in particular in Serbia, a very active embassy which reaches out to all elements of Serbian society in the hopes that we can find greater understanding. And that's really what soft power is.
Cultural exchange.
Cultural exchange, all kinds of things. And I think it's especially important in Serbia because you have this very dynamic cohort of younger people. These are people who in so many ways share our culture. And the whole tech culture in Serbia is something that I think our two countries can build on. There are other things. There's an athletic culture too. There are Serbs are very present in the U.S. basketball scene, for example. So I think there are a lot of things that bring us together. And so I think it goes well beyond the capacity of an embassy to hand out a magazine.
And this series of advertising a couple of years ago, I think it was before you came, you are vi ste svet, you are the world. You remember this? But how you commented this?
I don't know. I saw it. It seemed fine to me. But you can't do the same thing forever. You got to do different things. So we're trying to be very active here and to make sure that Serbs know that we're listening carefully, trying to kind of bridge the misunderstandings that have clearly existed in the past and try to go forward together.
Okay. After 3 years in Belgrade as U.S. ambassador to Serbia, what you can say how our country has changed in your eyes since 90s when you first came here and since 2021 when you arrived as U.S. ambassador?
Well, I think this is a very different country from the 1990s, very different country. I think there is, frankly, a lot more of an economy than ever before. I think the process of foreign investment has had a profound impact on the way people think here about the world, and the understanding that Serbia has interests not just with its neighboring countries, but also interests in broader Europe. the 1990s had no aspirations really of joining the European Union, and now those aspirations and the possibilities are very real. So
when you first came, excuse me, it was
19
early 90s?
Well, I was here in the 90s because I was dealing a lot with the Dayton Peace Accords.
Yeah, we said, so this
Peace
photo.
Accords, but I was here earlier. I was here actually as a very young diplomat in the late 70s. In fact, I was here.
So you can compare really totally different decades. Yeah.
I mean, in the late 70s, I mean, 1980, I was here in May 1980 when Comrade Tito died. So yes, I've seen different aspects of Serbia. In fact, to go even further back, my father was a diplomat here, and I was a 6-year-old kid.
Okay, during my first visit to the United States in January 1994, I was on International Visitors Program. I saw President Clinton's first State of the Union address. I remember how important this was to me as a young journalist from troubled southeastern European country. In this election year in the US now, what is your opinion how the results of this election can influence future Serbian-American relations? In our media, there is always an expectation that everything will change if Trump becomes president or not. It was so in 2016, as well in 2020, or today in 2024.
Well, you know, just as I don't like to interfere in domestic Serbian relations, I really don't like to interfere in domestic U.S. relations. We will have an election in November, that much I'm sure of.
You watched the presidential debate yesterday?
You know, it was really too late for me, but I've seen some replays.
Me too. I just checked in the media.
Anyway, I mean, I think people need to understand that we have some lasting interests, and those interests will bridge any two administrations or any two halves of one administration. So we have some lasting interests. And so I would not encourage your viewers to think in terms of, you know, huge changes in our approach. We want the best for this region. We want peace and security here. We want these countries to realize aspirations.
Doesn't matter who is.
It doesn't really matter. So, you know, personalities will change, that's for sure. But I think people need to understand that our interests are more permanent than that and more lasting.
Yeah, we need to explain this to Serbian media because it's always the same every election. Your views are sometimes different from the views of some European officials and politicians regarding potential Serbian recognition of independence of Kosovo as a final step on our path to the EU. What is your opinion regarding this, for many people in Serbia, a crucial topic?
Well, first of all, what the Europeans are doing is the right thing. And what they're doing is trying to get Kosovo and Serbia to have a normalized relationship. And that means, first of all, reducing tensions, but it means especially the idea of sort of getting along, of being able to work together on issues. So normalization is what the European Union is seeking. Looking beyond, I mean, I think it's important to understand that if you can have, as the Europeans call it, a normalization that is fundamental, that is broad-based, and legally binding normalization, you can build. That can be a very strong platform to build other things on it. Mm-hmm. So I think the first thing is normalization, and that's what the Europeans are trying to do, and that's what we are trying to do to help the Europeans, because that is absolutely key. If there's no normalization, that means instability, that means problems. And while the Europeans want to see Serbia among them, that is within their structures, they want to see Serbia resolve or at least address problems before Serbia comes in. So I think they are very much focused on normalization, and we are too.
Lithium exploration and Rio Tinto are also hot topics for people in Serbia, especially today after the Serbian government announced that this project is not closed, as they stated in January 2022. What is the official position of the US regarding this topic?
Well, first of all, I don't think we have an official position on this. I think this is a matter for the Serbian people to determine what is best in Serbia's interests. I think Serbia has tried to have a debate about this. Obviously, this has been kind of politicized, not unusual in today's world where a lot of issues become politicized. But I think the most important issue is for everybody to determine whether it's helpful for Serbia's future. And can lithium be part of a modern economy? Can it be part of a value chain of modern technologies? And otherwise, it's just a mining project. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a big effort to make sure that people understand that this is part of a modern economy. And it's for Serbs to decide, and it's not for foreign diplomats to make decisions for them.
Do you think we need a real discussion, real conversation? Because I don't think in past couple of years we had this kind of conversation in one room, yeah. like you you were present when was this conversation before this election with Ana Brnabić in the parliament, and we still don't see we see only accusation from both sides, but not conversation in one room.
Well, I mean, we live in an age when often emotion becomes a big part of every conversation. And I think really there needs to be less emotion and more attention to whether this project is good for Serbia. Mm-hmm. And I think there seems to be at least a decision, as you allude to the fact that this is something that should be part of Serbia's future. I know that Serbian institutions have looked very carefully at the environmental issues. If people continue to have more concerns, they ought to be asking those institutions. Again, this is really a matter for Serbia to get together and decide what's in the best interests of their country and going forward from there. Serbia is going to be in the electric vehicle business. There's going to be a new Panda coming out of Kragujevac, which will be plug-in. It's kind of nice to see that there is this modern economy, this postmodern economy, if you like, and that Serbia can be a part of that. And I think the argument of those, including in the government, who believe that lithium is good for Serbia, the argument is that lithium is very much tied to this modern economy. So again, Serbs need to decide this, they need to listen carefully and make their own decisions and have their own public debates.
Okay. Because we are Diplomacy and Commerce magazine, so we have this commerce part of our title. What's your opinion about improvement of business relations between Serbia and the U.S.?
Well, I think we're getting there. I think a lot of good things have happened. First of all, we have a very successful and influential American chamber here in Belgrade, and I think they've done a lot to be very reassuring to other American companies that might be looking at the Serbian market, might not have known a lot about the Serbian market. So the fact that you see some marquee American companies, some very serious American companies coming to Serbia, I think is a very good sign. So I think continuing to focus on that, because ultimately Serbia, given its size, will always need other markets, not just markets in Serbia, but other markets. And so I think it's kind of an encouraging sight when you drive along some of Serbia's new infrastructure, and by the way, infrastructure is a big part of this issue, to see these companies building factories and building data centers and issues like that. Because I think Serbia, especially its young people, need to be assured that this economy is modernizing and is going to stay up to other economies. I know there's a lot of concern about the demographics in Serbia, the demographics of many of these
countries.
Southeastern European countries, and whether the demographics can support a modern economy. So people need to be assured that this is a good place to raise a family. And I think more and more people understand that. I think this road network helps. The fact that you can sleep in Kragujevac and work in Belgrade is a good sign. So
like me, from Novi Sad to Belgrade on a daily basis.
But I thought
by train, yeah.
But Novi Sad is such a center. I think Belgrade is really the suburb of
Novi Sad. Thank you. Thank you for that. Novi Sad people will like it.
But seriously, I think the development of some of these other cities, not named Belgrade, whether it's Novi Sad or Niš or Kragujevac, is a very good sign. And I think a very good sign for the economy.
Because we saw, according to last census, that only Novi Sad, Belgrade, and Novi Pazar face increasing in population between two censuses. The rest of the cities are declining. Yeah.
Well, it's really about infrastructure and making sure that if you live down in the Morava corridor, you can get to Belgrade in a reasonable amount of time. You can go visit your parents or grandparents down there and have Sunday lunch with them, and still get back in time to Sunday night to prepare your kids for school Monday morning. These are very positive trends in Serbia, and I think it's trends that foreign businesses will look at and see a certain commitment of the population to a country that is developing in a modern way.
Would you like to add some message at the end of this interview before Independence Day to our readers and to people in Serbia?
Well, I think the other day I was reading the American Declaration of Independence. It was July 4th, 1776. And it's interesting that we still talk about the concepts. And it's basically about the rights of the individual, what rights we all derive from the fact that we exist, how governments should be instituted in order to protect those rights. And when you read through this kind of material, you realize that our two countries share a lot of values. And sharing values, I think, is sort of the essence of a partnership and a friendship. But frankly, I'd like to see more between Serbia and the United States. And so I think we all ought to consider the fact that even though we are separated by a big ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, and a Mediterranean Sea in some respects, we're also much closer than the geography might suggest.
Thank you for this interview, Mr. Ambassador, and happy Independence Day.
Thank you.
Thank you.